Hello everyone, ARG back with some more Franchise Hockey Manager 8, and today in the wonderful world of revisionist history of the NHL, we are in April of 1993, which means that we are going to finish the regular season and then we're going to go ahead and head off to the playoffs. Now, before I get started, let me be clear about one thing here, and I think it's very important that I mention that I refuse to let the game recreate history. Now, if you follow or have followed the NHL, you should know that in 1993, the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup. It's actually the last time that a Canadian team won the Cup, and you know how I feel about that. So let's not have history repeat itself. Let's make it the Los Angeles Kings win the Cup in 1993. How about that? That would be pretty cool. Alright, so obviously, that late into the season I can't really make trades or anything like that. We still have two defensemen that are out for about the same amount of time, could be back in the playoffs, if we go deep enough, that is. So Galley and Todd Gill are both 2 to 3 weeks away from coming back. We have, 7 games left? Yeah, we have 7 games left to play in the season. We're 4th in the conference. It's pretty tight, though, so we can't kind of slack off or anything like that. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. There's no, trades to look at or anything like that, so we're just going to trudge through. I don't know if it's going to be a longer stream today. Sometimes with the playoffs, it can take a little longer, especially if we make it deep. Alright, so let's get going. And we're starting today. We're going to be in Philadelphia against the Flyers. Flyers have a pretty good season, unlike in real life in 2022. They are 44-27-4. So that's a pretty good record indeed. We are 1-0 against the Flyers. We did beat them at home 8-5. Alright, let's win this game now, shall we? Oh, we have François Gravel in net for this game. Darren Pupa's in net for the Flyers. Go Kings! We need a W. Oh, and we did get it. A very convincing 8-1 win to start the month of April. That's pretty good. Alright, so an 8-1 victory. We outshot the Flyers 39-24 in that one. Ray Shepherd was the first of the game. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals. Luc Robitaille was the second star with a goal and 3 assists. And Andrew Castles was the third star with 2 assists. Luc Robitaille opened up the scoring in the first on the power play from Andrew Castles. And then the Flyers tied the game. It was 1-1 after 1. Then we scored 4 unanswered goals in the second period. Rob Brown from Luc Robitaille, then Ray Shepherd from Luc Robitaille and Andrew Castles, then Rob Blake from Mike Ridley and Randy Wood, and then Dave Reed from Gary Volk and Robert Reichel. It was 5-1 Kings after 2. And we added 3 more. Ray Shepherd scored his 35th from Luc Robitaille and Alexei Gusarov, then Jeff Smith from Adam Burt and Randy Wood, and then Ray Shepherd on the power play from Alexander Mogilny and Rob Blake. 8-1 victory. That's a good way to start the stream. Ray Shepherd has a memorable game. As we saw, he had a hat-trick. Suspension over for Theo Fleury in Calgary, back in the lineup. Joe Sakic is day-to-day in Quebec, so it shouldn't be too bad. Ron Francis extends his goal streak to 5 games with a goal and an assist against Pittsburgh. Mario Lemieux's point streak ended at 33 games. Oh, that got stopped, huh? He was unable to get a point against Hartford in that same game. Mark Recchi, however, extended his point streak to 29. He scored the lone goal for Pittsburgh in that game. And then Bruce McNall is satisfied with my work. We went 9-3-2 last month, including the game yesterday. Alright, we have a day off, and then we're going to be back home for 3 games. John Ogrodnik played in his 1000th game in the NHL, celebrated that with 2 goals and an assist. Yeah, great way to celebrate 1,000 games. That happened against the Islanders. John Ogrodnik is 33 years old. He's still a 3.5-star player. Brent Ashton also played in his 1000th game. Didn't get a point, however. That was against Montreal. Brent Ashton is 32 years old and he's a 1-star player. Claude Lemieux in that same game, assist streak ended at 9 games. Didn't get a point against the Caps. Alright. And Devil's Star wrecks one-of-a-kind car. Teemu Selanne wrecked a car. He's hurt in the process. Yep, moderate whiplash. 1 to 2 weeks out for Teemu Selanne in New Jersey. Alright, so we are hosting the Minnesota North Stars. Minnesota is 22, 42, and 14. That's good for 10th in the conference. We are 2-0 against Minnesota this season. Both games were in Minnesota. That's the first time and only time we're going to be playing them at home. Bob Essensa is going to be in net for Minnesota. Arthur Sayerbe back in net for the Kings. Go Kings! Oh, yeah, a 9-3 victory. Wow, we are playing on all cylinders here. That's kind of what we want heading into the playoffs. You want to have some momentum. A nice 9-3 victory. We outshot Minnesota 36-30 in that one. Randy Wood was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and 3 assists. Alexander McGillney was the second star with a goal and 4 assists. And Andrew Castles was the third star with 2 goals and 3 assists. Sellout crowd here in Inglewood today. Andrew Castles opened up the scoring in the first from Alexander McGillney and Randy Wood. Then Adam Burt from Andrew Castles and Robert Reichel. And then Robert Reichel scored his 35th from Andrew Castles and Gerald Deduck. 3-0 Kings after 1. Then in the second period, Andrew Castle scored from Randy Wood and Alexander McGillney, made it 4-0. Then Minnesota scored, made it 4-1. And then Alexander McGillney scored his 50th from Gerald Deduck and Randy Wood, 5-1 Kings after 2. So I wonder if McGillney would have came closer to his 76-goal season that he had in that season if he wouldn't have spent so much time on the third line, because it took me forever to be able to find a good deal for Mike Gartner. I wonder. Alright. There was a fight between Gerald Deduck and Link Gates as well. Then in the third period, Randy Wood scored from Alexander McGillney and Andrew Castles. Then Minnesota scored. It was 6-2. We made it 7-2 with Randy Wood scoring from Alexander McGillney and Gerald Deduck. Then Minnesota score made it 7-3, and then we scored 2 more. Ray Shepard from Robert Reichel and Luc Robitaille, and then Mike Ridley from Gary Valk and Robert Cron. That was a 9-3 victory, folks. It was very good. Excellent passing leads to productive night for Alexander McGillney. As we saw, he had a goal and 4 assists. Ray Shepard extended his goal streak to 5 games in that game with his goal. Pierre Turgeon lights the lamp in Buffalo. He had a hat-trick against Boston. Mark Recchi extended his point streak to 30 games with 3 assists against Quebec. Wow. Oh, Mike Milbury might be replaced as the GM of the Sharks. Sharks are terrible. They are 14, 60, and 5 this season in their second season in the NHL. Memorable night for Paul Ranheim. He had a hat-trick against the San Jose Sharks. No further discipline for Rick Natras in Chicago, not suspended. And no further action needed for Pavel Bure in St. Louis either, not suspended over there either. All right, we have a couple of days off, and then we're going to be hosting the leaders of the conference, the Calgary Flames. Mark Rickey's point streak ended at 30 games, was unable to get a point against New Jersey. Jeff Courtnall has tallied 600 points in his career. Jeff Courtnall now playing for Philadelphia in my universe. He got 2 assists against Toronto, and he is 30 years old and a 4-star player. One more day off. Ooh, Galley's returning to practice. That's going to be a big boost if he can come back for the playoffs. Getting a puck mover back from the blue line is going to be great. Alright, Calgary is in town. They are 54-21-4. That's first in the conference by a mile. That's probably why they are the defending cup champions, right? We are 2-4 against Calgary this season. We did manage to win 2, sorry. Hopefully we can win again here. Mike Vernon is going to be in net for Calgary. We're going back to Arthur Bay. Go Kings! Oh, we lost that one 5-2. That's like the best team in the conference. That happens. We were outshot 37-25. Doug Gilmour was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Theo Fleury was the second star with 3 assists. And Al McInnes was the third star with a goal and an assist. Sellout crowd again in Inglewood. Flames scored 3 goals in the first period. Yeah, that really hurt. We were down 3-0 after 1. Nobody scored in the second period. 9 seconds into the third period, Ray Shepherd scored from Luc Robitaille and Robert Reichel, made it 3-1. Then the Flames scored again. Then we scored again. Robert Reichel scored on the power play. That was unassisted. Was 4-2, but the Flames scored late in the third period, made it 5-2, and we just couldn't come back from that. So 5-2 loss. And Joe Rickey is hurt because we're approaching the playoffs. So the usually I get like a rash of injuries, like at one position or something, for the playoffs to make it more challenging, I guess. Right, Joe Rickey is out for 1 to 2 months with a torn ligament in his thumb. Ray Shepherd extends his goal streak to 6 games. He did score against the Flames. And Craig Simpson extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had a goal against the Sharks. Alright, Joe Rickey gets on the injured list. And we're going to recall probably Rimeshaw. Yep. Alright, we have a day off, and then we're going to be hosting the San Jose Sharks. Alright, Rich Chernomaz has been put on waivers yet again by the Flyers. Ray Ferraro has a good game in Hartford. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Suns. Ooh, Mark Rickey is hurt in Pittsburgh for 3 months. Oops, he's going to miss the playoffs. That's not good for Pittsburgh. So here I am complaining about my defensemen that are injured. Pittsburgh just lost a superstar for the playoffs. Fractured tibia. Yikes. Joe Mullen extended with Calgary. That's a 2-year extension. Alright, and now we're hosting the Sharks. Sharks are 15-61-5. That's good for dead last in the conference. And by far, I mean, even the first year Tampa Bay Lightning are looking a lot better than they are. We are 5-0 against the Sharks this season. Let's continue the massacre, shall we? Tom Barrasso is going to be in net for San Jose. Arthur Serbe in net for us. Go Kings. And a nice 6-2 win at home against the Sharks. We outshot them 39-31. Andrew Castles was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Rob Blake was the second star with a goal and an assist, and Mike Ridley was the third star with 2 goals. A sellout crowd yet again in LA. Sharks actually opened up the scoring in the first. They were up 1-0 in the after 1. Then we scored twice in the second period. Mike Ridley scored from Randy Wood and Gary Volk. Then Rob Blake scored on the power play from Luke Robitaille and Andrew Castles. It was 2-1 Kings after 2. And in the third period, the Sharks actually tied the game, but a minute later, Mike Ridley scored unassisted to give us the lead back, and then we scored 3 more goals after that. Ray Shepard scored on the power play from Andrew Castles and Rob Blake. Andrew Castles from Alexander McGillney and Adam Burt, and then Robert Cron from Scott Arniel and Rob Brown. 6-2, the final score here in LA against the Sharks. Ray Shepard extends his goal streak to 7 games. He had a goal against the Sharks. Passes on point for Craig Janney. He had 5 assists against the Nordiques. That's pretty good. A night to remember for Joe Sakic in that same game. He had a hat-trick. And strong game for Owen Nolan, who's not playing for the Nordiques. He's playing for Boston. He had 3 goals and 2 assists in that same game. Alright, we have a day off, and then we're playing in San Jose. That was a back-to-back against them, and then we have a back-to-back against the Canucks to finish the season. Alright, so the Sharks are now 15, 62-5, still dead last. We are now 6-0 against them. Let's do this. Arthur Searby still in net for us. Glenn Ely is going to be in net for San Jose. Go Kings! Oh, a 3-3 tie. That's unacceptable. We outshot them 47-35. Ron Sutter was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Alexander McGillney was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Dean Kennedy was the third star with a goal. Adam Burt opened up the scoring in the first period from Mike Ridley. Then the Sharks tied the game. We were tied at 1 after 1. Then in the second period, the Sharks took the lead. Then we tied the game. Mike Ridley from Randy Ladouceur and Alexander McGillney. Then the Sharks took the lead again. It was 3-2 after 2. We also had a fight between Dean Kennedy and Randy Ladouceur. Then in the third period, Alexander McGillney tied the game from Jeff Smith and Dave Reed. We went to overtime. Oh, there was some face punching, a lot of penalties in the third. However, only one fight, Mark Janssens and Rob Brown. Then obviously nobody scored in overtime. We have a 3-3 tie. Great night for Benoit Hugg with the Buffalo Sabres. He had a hat-trick against the Red Wings. Strong game for Pierre Turgeon in that same game. He had 4 assists. Doug Wilson has racked up 300 goals in his career. He had a goal against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Doug Wilson is 35 and he is a 2-star player. No one could stop Wayne Gretzky. We don't see a lot of news about him now that he's in Toronto. But he had 3 goals and 2 assists against the Flyers. And Todd Gill to resume skating. Alright, we have a couple days off and then we're going to be in Vancouver to play against the Canucks. And then 2 days later, we're coming back home to finish this season against the Canucks. And that's going to be the end of the regular season after that. Ray Ferraro extends his assist streak to 8 games. He had 2 goals and an assist against the Maple Leafs. Big game for Larry Murphy, still in Washington. He had 4 assists against Montreal. Alright, we are in Vancouver. They are 39, 37, and 6. That's good for 8 in the conference. We are 3-4 against the Canucks this season. Arthur Searby is going to be in net for us. Kirk McLean is going to be in net for Vancouver. Go Kings! We need a better record against them. Oh yeah, 7-1 victory here. We outshot Vancouver 32-26. Robert Reichel was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Dave Reed was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Alexander McGillney was the third star with 2 goals. So McGillney opened up the scoring in the first from Jeff Smith and Andrew Castles. Then Alexei Gusarov scored his 10th from Robert Reichel. Then the Canucks scored. It was 2-1, and we scored 2 more goals. Andrew Castles scored his 35th on the power play from Ray Shepherd and Rob Blake, and then Dave Reed from Ray Shepherd and Rob Blake. It was 4-1 Kings after 1. Then nobody scored in the second period. We had a fight between Mike Hartman and Andy Reimsha. Then in the third period, we added 3 more goals. Robert Reichel from Mike Ridley and Dave Reed. Then Mike Ridley scored his 25th from Gary Valk and Randy Wood. And finally, Alexander McGillney scored from Robert Reichel and Gerald Deduck. 7-1, the final score. Ken Gernander improves at center. Well, ain't that great. Todd Charlesworth has been put on waivers by the Flyers. Petr Nedved extends his point streak to 12 games. He had 2 assists against Montreal. Suspension for Mark Hardy in Minnesota. He's going to miss 1 game. And Ray Ferraro's assist streak ended at 8 games against the Islanders. Didn't get a point against them. Alright, 1 day off, and then the last game of the season. Ooh, Boston lost Ray Bork with a bruised toe, so it's probably just a day-to-day injury. Yeah, he's probably gonna be playing in the playoffs. Alright, and now Vancouver is in town. They are now 39, 38, and 6. We are 4-4 against them. Vancouver is still 8 in the conference. And we are assured to finish 4th in the conference. We cannot go up any further, and Edmonton cannot catch up to us. I think that means, pretty sure that it's still the same playoff format, so I believe we're going to be facing the Jets in the first round. That makes it different than the Oilers. So, alright. Frank Pietrangelo is going to be in net for Vancouver. Artur Serbe in net for the Kings. Go Kings, of course, as usual. And we won 4-1. We outshot Vancouver 47-23. Rob Blake was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Alexei Gusarov was the second star with 2 assists. And Luc Robitaille was the third star with an assist. Sellout crowd yet again at home. Vancouver scored the first goal of the game. Then Alexander McGillney tied the game on the power play from Rob Blake and Andrew Castles. Nobody scored in the second. We had some face punching between Gerald Deduck and Mike Hartman. Then in the third period, Rob Brown scored on the power play from Dave Reed and Alexei Gusarov. Then Rob Blake scored his 20th of the season from Mike Ridley and Alexei Gusarov. And then finally, Robert Reichel scored in an empty net from Luc Robitaille and Ray Shepherd. 4-1 the final score. Alright, so we had overall a pretty nice season. I have to say, and I hate to say it, but we started to really play well after I traded Wayne Gretzky. I guess getting Rob Blake on the D was a bigger impact than losing Gretzky and downgrading, quote unquote, to Andrew Castles as well. I saw Reichel on the first line as well, so Ken Gernander improves at left wing. Go Ken Gernander, you are very versatile now, are you? Alright, so let's do this. And I think, yep, everybody has played all of their games. Big game for Dave Andreychuk. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Flyers. Petr Nedved extends his point streak to 13 games. He had a goal and an assist in that same game, and that was 8 straight games with an assist for him. Memorable night for Doug Gilmour. He had 4 assists against the Sharks. Doug Gilmour extended his point streak to 12 games with that performance. Good night for Al McInnes in that same game. He had 4 goals. And Mark Hardy is back from suspension in Minnesota just in time to not play in the playoffs because his team is not going to make it, I don't think. Alright, let's advance that, and then we're going to look at the playoff 3 whenever we see it. Oh, there were some more games. Great night for Bruce Driver. He had 4 assists against the Islanders. Good game for Teemu Selanne. He had a hat-trick in that same game. And Theo Fleury stays with the Flames. He signed a 5-year deal. Buffalo re-signed Phil Housley. He's going to be back for 3 more years. Alright, Tim Waters and Mark Hunter have been put on waivers. Alright, and now is the trophy nominees. For the art, we have Doug Gilmour, Mario Lemieux, and Steve Yzerman. For the Vezina, we have Andy Moog, John Van Beesbrook, and Mike Vernon. The Norris is going to be between Al McInnes, Chris Chelios, and Paul Coffey. The Calder between Pavel Bure, Peter Nedved, and Sergei Fedorov. GM of the Year between Bobby Clark, Jerry Meehan, and Mike Smith. The Selkie between Mike Keane, Ron Francis, and Steve Yzerman. Lady Bing between Andrew Castles, Ray Shepard, and Steve Yzerman. Wow, we have 2 chances out of 3 to win that. Oh, Andrew Castles got 100 points right on the dot in 76 games. He didn't miss a little bit of time. Ray Shepard was just a little short, 93 points in 74 games. The Mark Messier Leadership Award is going to be between Mario Lemieux, Ray Bourque, and Ron Francis. The Ted Lindsay is going to be between Doug Gilmour, Mario Lemieux, and Steve Yzerman. Jack Adams between Gene Ubriaco in Pittsburgh, Jacques Martin in Winnipeg, and Mike Keenan in Buffalo. Pierre Turgeon extended for 2 years in Buffalo. And Mike Richter extended for 4 years with the Jets. Oh, do we have the... No, not yet. One more. Yeah, we play the Jets. Oh, Galley is starting to feel better, so we might see him soon. Alright, let's take a look at the playoff 3. Alright, so on the other side, Montreal's playing Buffalo, Quebec is playing Hartford. Oh wow, Boston is not in the playoffs. I thought that Ray Bourque would play with his injured toe, but I guess not. New Jersey's playing Pittsburgh. New Jersey's been good this year, so that's not a given. Philadelphia's playing Washington. On our side, Toronto's playing Detroit. Chicago's playing St. Louis. Edmonton's playing Calgary, and we are playing the Jets. Alright, so we are playing in Winnipeg. They finished 3 points ahead of us in the standings. We finished the season 3-4 against the Jets. Let's take a look at what they have. So they have Yarvin Pudd that's hurt. He's not going to play, but that's their only injury. They have Cujo and Mike Richter in net. Randy Carlyle, Dave Ellett, Brian Marchment, Bobby Dallas, Chris Luongo, Teppo Numminen, and Frederick Lawson on D. That's a pretty good D overall. There's a little bit of everything. You have a couple puck movers. You have a couple tough guys. Yeah. Up front, they have Laurie Boschman, Andy Brickley, Inachak, Al Seckard, that they claimed off waivers from us. Wilson, Howardchuk, Nemchinov, Pivanka, Steen, Prokopiev, Duncan, Elenak, Abscheid, and Andrew McBain. Alright, hopefully we can pass the first round. Alright, playoffs are underway. Now is the time to make a little sacrifice under the full moon. Okay. Alright, Arthur Searby is going to be in net for the Kings. Curtis Joseph is going to be in net for Winnipeg. Go Kings! Oh, that starts with a 5-0 win on the road. A statement game right off the bat. 5-0 victory. Oh, look at that. We outshot them 33-13. This is the playoffs, folks. Imagine you're a hockey fan, your team makes it into the playoff, you have home ice advantage, and the first game of the playoffs, your team musters a whopping 13 shots on goal. You probably would not feel great. I know I wouldn't. Alright, so Dave Reed was the first star of the game. He had 3 assists. Alexander Milgilny was the second star with 2 goals and an assist, and Andrew Castles was the third star with a goal and an assist. Nobody scored in the first. Then Luc Robitaille opened up the scoring in the second. That was a power play goal from Andrew Castles and Ray Shepherd. Then Robert Reichel from Ray Shepherd and Randy Wood. And then Andrew Castles from Alexander McGillney and Dave Reed. We had a 3-0 lead after 2. Then in the third period, Alexander McGillney scored from Adam Burt and Dave Reed. And 15 seconds later, he scored again from Gerald Deduck and Dave Reed. 5-0 the final score. Awesome. We also didn't take a single penalty in this game. That's not true. We took a bench minor, which doesn't show as penalty in minutes. Alright, Jyrki Lume has a great game. For Montreal, he had 4 assists against Buffalo. And Gary Galley back soon, yes please. Alright, so let's look at the other scores. Edmonton surprised Calgary with a 4-2 victory. They're up 1-0 in their series. Chicago beat St. Louis. We beat Winnipeg. Detroit beat Toronto. Philadelphia beat Washington. Montreal trounced the Sabres. New Jersey beat Pittsburgh. And Hartford won against the Quebec Nordiques. Day off. Oh, Gary Galley on the verge of returning. That's awesome. I think he's gonna miss this game, and I think he's gonna be back for the next one, maybe. Alright, we're in Winnipeg again. We're up 1-0 in our series with a nice 5-0 win to start. Let's get things going here, shall we? Arthur Searby still in net for us. Cujo back in net for the Jets. Go Kings! Ah, we lost 4-3. Series is tied at 1 with a 4-3 loss on the road. We outshot them 29-28. Andy Brickley was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Gary Volk was the second star with an assist. And Pat Elenock was the third star with a goal and an assist. Jets scored first in the first period. They were up 1-0. Then we scored twice in the second period. Andrew Castle scored on a power play from Ray Shepherd, and then Gerald Deduck from Gary Volk and Scott Arneal. We were up 2-1 after 2. Looked pretty good. But then the Jets scored 3 goals in the third period. They were up 4-2. Andrew Castles brought us back to within 1 from Andy Reimshaw and Alexander McGillney. We were down 1 with 6:36 left to go in the third period. We just couldn't tie the game, and we lost 4-3. Series tied at 1. Kurt Muller is sidelined in New Jersey for 3 months. Oops, that's gonna get a little tougher for the Devils here against Pittsburgh. They managed to win game 1. Minor injury as Steve Yzerman out as day-to-day. Alright, so let's look at the other game. Oh, Edmonton took a 2-0 lead over the Flames with a 5-4 win. St. Louis beat Chicago. We lost against Winnipeg. Toronto tied their series against Detroit. Philadelphia trounced the Washington Capitals. Buffalo beat Montreal. Series tied at 1 there as well. New Jersey is up 2-0 against Pittsburgh, but they just lost Kirk Muller for the rest of the playoffs. And Hartford took a 2-0 lead in their series against the Quebec Nordiques. Alright. We have a day off, then we're moving home. Oh, Gary Galley's not ready. Todd Gill is starting to feel better. I need you guys to come back. Come on. Alright, so the Jets are in town. Series tied at 1. In front of our fans. We need to win. Cujo is in net for Winnipeg. Arthur Serbe is in net for us. Go Kings! Oh, we won 3-2. Took back the lead in the series 3-2. We were outshot 37-28, so we can say thank you to Arthur Serbe in that one. Dave Reed was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Miroslav Inachak was the second star with a goal. And Alexander Mogilny was the third star with a goal and an assist. Sellout crowd in Inglewood. Jets opened up the scoring in the first, and Mike Ridley tied from Luke Robitaille and Gary Volk. We had a 1-1 game after one. There was some fighting. Andy Reimschoff fought his former teammate Al Seckerd. Then Rob Brown got into a scrap with Randy Carlisle. Then in the second period we scored twice. Alexander Mogilny from Jeff Smith and Dave Reed, and then Gerald Dedock from Dave Reed and Alexander Mogilny. 3-1 the score here after 2. Jets would score a goal in the third period to come to within 1, but they never tied the game. We are up 2-1 in the series, sorry. Scott Arniel improves at center. Doesn't really matter, because he ain't coming back. Let's look at the other scores. Oh, Gary Galley is completely recovered. Awesome. Todd Gill back sooner rather. We're about to get Todd Gill back as well. Alright, Gary, you missed a lot of time, buddy. Send Reimshaw back down. Alright, so let's look at the other games. Calgary came back in their series. They finally won a game. St. Louis beat Chicago. We beat Winnipeg. Detroit beat Toronto. Washington beat Philadelphia. Montreal is up 2-1 against Buffalo. Oh, the Devils are up 3-0 against Pittsburgh. We might be seeing an upset over there. And Hartford is up 3-0 against the Nordiques as well. Alright, we might be seeing some interesting stuff. Oh, Todd Gill is almost recovered. Alright, so we are hosting the Jets again, of course. Now we have Gary Galley back. We are up 2-1 in our series. Let's make it 3-1, shall we? Let's put them against the wall. Gary Galley is going to be on the first pair with Rob Blake, which is what I was hoping to get. Curtis Joseph is going to be in net still for the Jets. Arthur Serbe in net for us. Go Kings! Make it 3-1 in the series, please. Thank you. 4-3 victory, another tight game. The last 3 games were all 1-goal games. That's real playoffs hockey right there. We were outshot 38-27, so again we can say thank you to Arthur Serbe. Alexander Mogilny was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Dale Auerchuk was the second star with a hat trick. Gary Galley celebrated his return to the lineup with the third star and 2 assists. Sellout crowd yet again. Alright, Winnipeg opened up the scoring in the first. Then in the second, Ray Shepard tied the game from Gary Galley and Rob Blake. It was tied at 1 after 2. Then we went into the third period. We took the lead. Robert Reichel scored on the power play from Gary Galley and Alexander Mogilny. Then the Jets scored twice. And we didn't give... Oh, God, yeah, they scored twice. And there was a minute 57 left to go in the game. We were down 1, but we didn't give up because 19 seconds after the Jets took the lead, Alexander Mogilny tied the game from Randy Wood and Andrew Castles. And then Randy Wood gave us the win with 4 seconds left to go in the third period from Alexander Mogilny and Gerald Dedock. 4-3 victory in extremis. Oh, yeah. Like it. But Andrew Castles is hurt. I think I said that it was a minor facial cut, so I don't think he's going to be out for very long. Yeah, he's day today, so I'm not gonna do too much with my lineup about that. Alright, so yeah, day to day with a minor official cut. Dale Warchuk had a good game. He had a hat trick, as we saw. Mike Keane had a good game as well in Montreal. He had a hat trick as well. And Todd Gill is completely recovered. Ain't that pretty? I'm getting my defense back. I like it. I think I'm going to send Randy Ladouceur down since there's no waivers right now. I'm going to keep Adam Burt. I like Adam Burt better. That's why I didn't re-sign Randy Ladouceur. He's been serviceable at the start of this, but I don't need him anymore. Alright, now... other team. Calgary tied their series against Edmonton. St. Louis beat Chicago. Toronto beat Detroit. Philadelphia beat Washington. Montreal beat Buffalo. The Devils swept the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's kind of an upset. And Quebec is still alive. They won against Hartford. Wow. New Jersey swept the Pittsburgh Penguins. Of course, Pittsburgh was without Mark Rickey. He got hurt for the entirety of the playoffs. But still, Mario Lemieux couldn't make it happen. Alright, we are back in Winnipeg. We are up 3-1 in our series. We can end it today with a win. Alright, so of course, Andrew Castles is going to miss that game because he has a cut to his face. Artur Serbe in net for us. Cujo still in net for the Jets. Go Kings! Let's finish that today. And no. We lost in overtime 5-4. The Jets are still alive. They refuse to die. We were outshot 40-33. Miroslav Hinachak was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and an assist. Luc Robitaille was the second star with 3 assists. And Pat Ellenap was the third star with a goal and an assist. Jets scored first in the first period. They were up 1-0, and then we had some face punching between Brian Marchment and Gerald Deduck. Then in the second period, Todd Gill scored from Luc Robitaille and Ray Shepherd. Then Ray Shepherd from Luc Robitaille and Robert Reichel. We were up 2-1, but the Jets scored twice before the end of the period. They were up 3-2 after 2. Then in the third period, Mike Ridley scored from Alexander McGillney and Gerald Deduck. Then Robert Reichel from Luc Robitaille and Ray Shepherd. We were up 4-3, but we couldn't hold the lead. The Jets tied the game, and in overtime, Miroslav Hinachak played the hero with his second game of the goal of the game. He actually was the one who tied the game as well. And we lost 5-4 in overtime. Alright, we're still up 3-2 in the series, though, but that 4th win is always the hardest to get, they say. Strong night for Ross Courtnall in Toronto. He had 4 assists against the Red Wings, and Andrew Castles is already feeling better. That's good. Hopefully he can play. Alright, in other games, Edmonton took a 3-2 lead into their series against Calgary. Chicago beat St. Louis. We lost. Toronto beat Detroit. The Nordiques are still alive. Buffalo is still alive. And Philadelphia beat Washington 3-2. Alright. Don't care about that. Andrew Castle's back soon. Yeah, that'd be great. Please and thank you. Yeah, he can play now. That's good. Alright, back at home. We're going to try to finish it in front of our fans. Cujo still in net for the Jets. Artur Serbe still in net for us. Go Kings! Please finish it now. Don't make me get stressed out. That's not good for my blood pressure. And we won 3-1. We are moving on to the second round. We're going to face either the Flames or the Oilers. We outshot Winnipeg 27-26 in that one. Robert Reichel was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Bobby Dallas was the second star with an assist. And Luc Robitaille was the third star with a goal and an assist. Sellout crowd yet again. Mike Ridley opened up the scoring in the first from Gary Galley and Dave Reed. Then Robert Reichel from Luc Robitaille and Ray Shepherd. 2-0 Kings after one. Then in the second period, the Jets scored, made it 2-1. And then in the third period, Luc Robitaille scored on the power play in an empty net from Ray Shepherd and Robert Reichel. It was 3-1, the final score. And that ended that series against the Jets. We are moving on, folks. That's pretty cool. Quebec's Duchesne to take 9 weeks to recover from broken hematoma bone. Oh god. So Gaetan Duchesne is hurt with the Nordiques for 9 weeks. We're going to see him next year. Excellent passing leads to productive night for Jeff Brown in that same game. He got 5 assists. Wow. The top-selling jerseys for the Kings in April. Luc Robitaille, Arthur Serbe, Ray Shepherd, Gary Galley, and François Gravel. Andrew Castle's on the edge of returning. That's awesome. Juricki is skating. The most sold jerseys in the NHL. Luc Robitaille is 15th. Oh yeah, you know that system is not exactly working 100% as intended when Shel Samuelson sold the second most jerseys in the entire NHL. Right, and the players of the month of April were Doug Gilmour and Curtis Joseph. So, yeah, players from our division, both of them. Competition is fierce. Right, so Edmonton tied the series. So they eliminated Calgary. Sorry, so we're facing Edmonton in round 2. I don't know if we have chances against them. We eliminated Winnipeg, St. Louis beat Chicago, Quebec is still alive, Montreal beat Buffalo, and Detroit is still alive against Toronto, I think. Yeah, there's 2 series left. So Montreal advanced, they might win the cup. I don't want for that to happen, folks. Right, coach reports on new players. Don't care. Andrew Castle's completely recovered. That's better. Alright, so Toronto moves on and Quebec came back from a 0-3 deficit against Hartford, I think, and then they moved on. Wow. Right, so so there's a Montreal Quebec confrontation in the second round. Ooh. Young ARG is pretty excited about that. Yeah, Montreal, Quebec, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Toronto, St. Louis, and Edmonton against your LA Kings. Go Nordiques! Right, we have a day off. And now we are hosting the Oilers. We had a better record than them. Oilers finished right behind us. 6 points behind us to be more precise. We were 4-3 against Edmonton this season. Let's take a look at what they're bringing. Martin Gélina is not going to be playing in that series. He is completely out. And Keith Acton is also not going to play. He has a fractured jaw. Alright, so other than that, they have Grant Fuhr and Bill Ranford in net, Kevin Lowe, Craig Muni, Yves Rassin, Darren Rumble, Chris Joseph, Steve Smith, Yego Fayev, and Gordon Murphy on D. And then they have Reeds, Simpson, Tikkanen, Daniel Alfredson, Keith Acton, Craig McTavish, Dave McElwain, Mark Massey, Glenn Anderson, Dobbin, Kovalenko, Curry, and Robinson up front. Well, go Kings! Alright. Bill Ranford in net for the Oilers, Arthur Serbe in net for us. Go Kings! and go Nordiques. Oh yeah, we start yet again the same way we started against the Jets with a shutout victory, this time 4-0 over Edmonton. We outshot the Oilers 46-21 in that game. Scott Arniel was the first star with 2 assists. Todd Gill was the second star with an assist, and Jeff Smith was the third star with an assist as well. Sellout crowd. We scored 3 unanswered goals in the first period. Rob Blake from Scott Arniel, then Gerald Deduck from Luc Robitaille and Robert Reichel, then Robert Cron from Jeff Smith and Scott Arniel. 3-0 Kings after 1. Nobody scored in the second, and then in the third period, Gary Volk scored from Todd Gill and Randy Wood, and we had a 4-0 victory. Awesome. And of course, Alexander McGillney is hurt. He's day to day. All right, we're gonna have to deal. A bruised hand. Okay. Sundin is suspended in St. Louis. That's going to hurt the Blues for sure. He's going to miss 1 game. Even if it's just 1 game, it's still going to hurt. So we won 4-0. St. Louis beat Toronto 6-3. Nordiques beat Montreal 5-3. There's a young ARG that is just a little too young to be drinking, so he's not doing that, but he's pretty happy nonetheless. And the Flyers beat New Jersey 4-3. Alright, game 2 against the Oilers again, of course. So we're going to be without Alexander McGillney for this game, so it might be a little tougher. Bill Ranford still in net for the Oilers. Artur Serbe in net for us. Go Kings! Oh, 6-2 victory. Alright. We were outshot 35-31 in that one, so we can yet again say thank you to Artur Serbe. Gerald Deduck was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Andrew Castles was the second star with 2 assists, and Ray Shepherd was the third star with a goal and an assist. Another sellout crowd here in LA. Gary Galley opened up the scoring in the first from Ray Shepherd and Robert Reichel. Then the Oilers scored twice, so we were down 2-1 after 1. However, in the second period, we scored 3 goals. Ray Shepherd from Andrew Castles and Todd Gill, then Rob Blake from Rob Brown and Andrew Castles, and then Randy Wood from Rob Brown and Gerald Deduck. We were up 4-2 after 2. Then we added 2 more goals in the third. Scott Arniel from Robert Cron and Ken Gernander, and then Gerald Deduck from Robert Reichel and Luc Robitaille. 6-2 victory for the Kings, and I just now noticed that Gerald Deduck has 4 goals in the playoffs so far, so he's playing pretty well. Alright, so Sundin is back after serving his suspension in St. Louis. Alright, so we won. St. Louis won against Toronto. They're up 2-0. Montreal tied the series against Quebec. I'm probably depressed right now. And the Devils tied their series as well. So the 2 series on our side are 2-0, and the 2 series over there are tied at 1. Alexander McGillney might play the next game. That would be great. And now it moves on to the road, so we are going to be in Edmonton. We have a great opportunity to really hurt them with a win here in front of their own fans, and McGillney is back. He's going to be playing on the second line with Andrew Castles and Dave Reed. Artur Serbe in net for us. Bill Ranford in net for the Oilers. Go Kings! Let's make it 3-0 in this series. Oh yeah, 4-1 victory. We're up 3-0 in that series. We were outshot 36-35. Jeff Smith was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Artur Serbe was the second star with 35 saves. And Luc Robitaille was the third star with a goal and an assist. Alright, we scored twice in the first period. Robert Reichel scored his 5th shorthanded from Dave Reed and Todd Gill. And Alexander McGillney scored his 5th as well from Rob Blake and Andrew Castles. The Oilers did score before the end of the period. It was 2-1 Kings after 1. Then, in the second period, Luke Robitaille scored from Jeff Smith and Ray Shepherd. It was 3-1 Kings. And then in the third period, Ray Shepherd scored from Jeff Smith and Luke Robitaille. 4-1, the final score. We took a pretty good option on our second round matchup against the Oilers with a 3-0 lead in our series here. St. Louis is also up 3-0. They shellacked the Leafs 9-3. Quebec won against the Abs. They're up 2-1. And Philadelphia beat New Jersey. They're up 2-1 as well. Alright, McGinney's still bothered by his arm, but he's still going to be playing. Alright, and we have an opportunity to sweep the Oilers here in round number 2. Arthur Serbe in net for us still. Of course, Bill Ranford is going to be in net for the Oilers. Go Kings, let's finish that today. Let's not linger around now, shall we? We lost 3-2. Alright, so we lost a game in Edmonton. We're still up 3-1 in the series, though. We were outshot 41-24 in that game. Yves Racine was the first star of the game. He had an assist. Dave Reed was the second star with a goal, and Brian Dobbin was the third star with an assist. Nobody scored in the first. Then in the second period, the Oilers opened up the scoring. Then Robert Reichel tied the game from Ray Shepherd and Todd Gill. Then the Oilers took the lead back. And then Dave Reed tied the game again from Gary Volk and Gerald Deduck. It was 2-2 heading into the third period. But with 4:43 left to go in the third period, Dave McElwain scored. And that was the game winner. We lost 3-2. Scott Arniel is injured. Jeff Courtnall has a strong game. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Devils, and McGinney's completely recovered. Scott Arniel is hurt. He's day-to-day, so he's not going to be able to play, so Lang or Gernander is going to draw in. Alright, so we lost against Edmonton. Toronto is still alive as well. They beat St. Louis. Montreal tied their series against Quebec. And Philadelphia is up 3-1 against the Devils. And David Molly in New Jersey had a weird offseason workout that led to success. So we've read about that before. So David Molly got better. Wow, he's a 2.5 star player. That's a little high for him. Alright, we have another shot to end that series. We're back home to face the Oilers. We're up 3-1. I do not want for that series to eternize, so let's finish that today. Bill Ranford in net for the Oilers. Arthur Serbe in net for us. Go Kings! We lost 4-1. Ooh, I don't like this. We were outshot 31-24. Yves Racine was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals. Dave McElwain was the second star with 2 assists. And Yari Curry was the third star with a goal and an assist. Sellout crowd in Inglewood. Oilers scored twice in the first. They scored twice in the second. They were up 4-0 going into the third period. Randy Wood scored relatively early in the third. Gave us maybe a little glimmer of hope from Gary Volk and Mike Ridley. But we just were never in this game, really. Ooh, Gretzky is day-to-day in Toronto. Alright, so our series is still going. St. Louis eliminated Toronto, so it doesn't matter that Gretzky is hurt. Quebec beat Montreal 6-5. They're up 3-2. And Philadelphia eliminated New Jersey in 5 with a 2-1 victory. Alright, so St. Louis moves on. If we can finally eliminate Edmonton, that's whom we're going to be facing. They do have Sundin Bretel and Pavel Bure, so that's a pretty good lineup right there. Joe Ricky's starting to feel better. Alright, so in Edmonton, we need to finish that. I don't want for that series to go 3 games apiece. Come on, guys. I need a big game from Rob Blake. I need for him to step up. Arthur Serbe in net for us. Bill Ranford in net for Edmonton. Go Kings. Alright, third time's the charm. A 4-3 overtime win to move on to the conference finals against the St. Louis Blues. Alright, we were outshot 50-33 in that one. Thank you, Arthur Serbe. Gary Valk was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Gordon Murphy was the second star with 2 assists, and Gerald Deduck was the third star with an assist. Edmonton scored first in the first period, then Luke Robitaille tied the game from Gerald Deduck and Robert Reichel, then Randy Wood from Mike Ridley and Gary Valk, 2-1 Kings after 1. In the second period, the Oilers tied the game. It was tied at 2 after 2. We had 2 fights between Craig Muni and Gerald Deduck, and then Craig McTavish against Todd Gill. Then in the third period, the Oilers took the lead, but then Alexander McGillney tied the game from Dave Reed and Andrew Castles. It was tied at 3, and the hero was Gary Galley from Gary Valk and Robert Lang, and that was the game winner in overtime. We are going to the conference finals, and we're going to do that without Robert Reichel and Rob Blake. Thank you, game, for being so consistent every single season. That's how I can recognize that the game that I'm playing, by its consistency. They're all day to day, but you know. Alright, so Reichel is day to day, Rob Blake is day to day. Peter Stastny is suspended in Quebec. He's going to miss 1 game, and Scott Arniel is recovered already. I'm going to need to look at all that. I don't think I have to send anybody down. Alright, so the Nordiques eliminated Montreal, so it's going to be Quebec, Philadelphia in the other conference finals, right? Alright, let's advance 1 day, and then we're going to figure out the lineup and everything. Arniel and Ricky are fitting better. Yep, it's Quebec, Philadelphia on the other end. St. Louis and the Kings on our end. Alright, so Rob Blake cannot play, so I guess Adam Burt is going to play in for him. And Arniel can play, Reichel cannot, so Gernander's coming in. Alright. Hopefully they are coming back soon. I'm going to need a full lineup. Blues finished 6th in the conference, but they're having really good playoffs. We were 2-1 against the Blues in the regular season. Hopefully they have a few injuries as well. Oh god, they only have Keith Brown that's hurt. Other than that, they are fully healthy. And look at that talent up front. Alright, so D'Alessio and Brian Hayward in net. That's not great goaltending. Brian Benning, Roberts, Darian Hatcher, Dirk, Gaston Gingras, Alain Côté on D. That D is terrible, but they're really loaded up front. Gino Cavallini, Tom Chorsky, Dimitri Ristich, Dave Laurie, Sergio Mameso, Brad Lauer, Romanov, Rod Burnhamore, Bullard, Cliff Running, Matt Sundin, Pavel Bure, Brettel, Greg Baslowski, and Vasky. Alright, well, hopefully we can beat them. We have a little bit of a depleted lineup. Brian Hayward is going to be in net for the Blues. Arthur Serbe in net for us. Go Kings! Oh, we won 8-5 the first game of the series. We outshot the Blues 41-34, sorry. Rob Brown was the first star of the game. He had 3 assists. Robert Crown was the second star with a goal and an assist, and Jeff Smith was the third star with 2 assists. Set out crowd here in Inglewood. Blues open up the scoring in the first. Then we scored twice. Andrew Castles from Alexander McGillney and Luke Robitaille. Then Ray Shepard scored his 5th unassisted. 2-1 Kings after 1. Then in the second period, St. Louis scored, made it 2-2. Then Dave Reed gave us the lead back from Robert Lang and Gary Valk. And then the Blues scored twice to go into the third period with a 4-3 lead. They even made it 5-3, and then we scored 5 unanswered goals. Galley from Alexander McGillney and Luke Robitaille, Scott Arneal from Rob Brown and Jeff Smith, Scott Arneal again from Rob Brown and Robert Cron. Robert Cron scored on the power play from Robert Lang and Rob Brown, and Ray Shepard from Jeff Smith and Luke Robitaille. 8-5 victory. Peter Stastny back from suspension in Quebec. Scott Arneal is back from injury, and Joe Rickey is almost 100%. And the Flyers won 4-1 their first game against the Nordiques. I'm going to mute my microphone for just a second. I will be right back. Alright, my apologies for that. Let's move on. Awesome, Rob Blake is completely recovered. And so is Joe Rickey. Alright. Trying to figure out who I want to send down. And you know what? I think it's gonna be Ken Gernander. I think I'm gonna go with 8D. I can always call him back up if we have an injury or something. Alright, let's play game 2. We're up 1-0 in the series against the Blues. Brian Hayward back in net for the Blues. Arthur Serbe in net for us. Go Kings. Oh, we lost 3-2. Series tied at 1. We outshot the Blues 45-34. Mike Ballard was the first star of the game. He had a goal. Luke Robitaille was the second star with a goal as well. And Brian Hayward was the third star with 43 saves. Yeah, he really stole one from us here. Sellout crowd again. Luke Robitaille scored his 5th of the season to open up the scoring from Joe Rickey and Mike Ridley. Then the Blues scored twice. It was 2-1 Blues after 1. Then in the second period, the Blues scored again. Then Ray Shepard scored from Galley. It was 3-2 St. Louis after 2. Sadly, that would remain the final score. We couldn't tie the game. So series tied at 1. Robert Reichel is feeling better. That's great news. We need him. Nordiques came back in their series as well, so both series are tied at 1. Right, Robert Reichel is probably going to be able to play. That's great. Alright, we are now in St. Louis. Let's get a nice road win. Artus Airby in net for us. Brian Hayward still in net for the Blues. If the Blues eliminate me with Brian Hayward in net, I will never hear the end of it from FJ, so I need for us to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. I forgot to say go Kings, and we lost 4-3, so we're down 2-1 in our series against the Blues now. Shots were tied 42 apiece. Brett Hull was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals. Ray Shepherd was the second star with 2 goals, and Dave Lowry was the third star with 2 assists. Blues scored twice in the first period. They were up 2-0. Then they scored another goal in the second period. They were up 3-0 after 2. Didn't look too good for us. There was a fight between Rob Dirk and Rob Blake. Then in the third period, Ray Shepherd scored from Randy Wood and Gary Galley. Then the Blues scored, made it 4-1. Then we scored 2 goals. Ray Shepherd from Gary Galley and Andrew Castles. Then Rob Blake from Randy Wood and Robert Reichel. That wasn't enough. We lost 4-3. There was another fight between Dave Lowry and Gerald Deduck. And we're down 2-1 in our series. Alright, and Philadelphia is up 2-1 in their series against the Nordiques. Alright, we have no more injuries at all anymore, so we have no excuse. Now we're riding into St. Louis to play against the Blues again. We're down 2-1. We need to win this game. Cannot go down 3-1. It's not going to be pretty if we do. Artus Airby and Brian Hayward are facing each other again. Go Kings! I need that W. Don't let me down, guys. We lost 6-2. We outshot the Blues 42-37. Gino Cavallini was the first star of the game. He had 3 assists. Cliff Running was the third star with a goal and 2 assists. And Brian Hayward was the third star with 40 saves. Blues scored twice in the first period. They were up 2-0. Then Alexei Gusarov scored from Gerald Deduck and Robert Reichel. Then the Blues scored again. It was 3-1 St. Louis after 2. Blues scored twice in the third period, made it 5-1. Then Andrew Castle scored his 5th of the playoffs on the power play from Luc Robitaille and Ray Shepherd. And then the Blues scored again. It was 6-2. And Todd Gill is hurt. And he's out for 3 weeks. And Scott Arniel improved at center. We haven't advanced, that's why. Flyers are also up 3-1 in their series against the Nordiques. Alright, so we're facing elimination here at home against the Blues. Blues might get to the Stanley Cup Finals. And they might win the Cup a lot earlier for the first time than they did in real life. Alright, we're trying to stay alive. We're down 3-1 in our series. Brian Hayward is the goaltender for the Blues. Artus Airby is in net for us. Go Kings! Let's stay alive, please. And we are. We won 4-1. We are still alive. We outshot the Blues 37-33. Galley was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Artur Serbe was the second star with 32 saves, and Mike Ridley was the third star with 2 assists. Sellout crowd in Inglewood. Nobody scored in the first. Then the Blues opened up the scoring in the second period. They were up 1-0. There was a fight between Joe Rickey and Darian Hatcher. We scored 4 unanswered goals in the third period. Ray Shepherd scored his 10th from Rob Blake, then Dave Reed from Gary Galley and Mike Ridley. Gary Galley on the power play from Luke Robitaille and Ray Shepherd, and then Dave Reed again in an empty net from Mike Ridley and Alexei Gusarov. 4-1 the final score. Alright, and the Flyers have eliminated the Nordiques, so whoever comes on top on our side is going to be facing the Philadelphia Flyers in the Stanley Cup Finals. Alright, for it to be us, we need to win 2 more games here, and we are not allowed to lose any. Alright, Artur Serbe in net for us. Brian Hayward in net for the Blues. Go Kings. We need another W, please. Yes, we won 3-1. We're pushing the series to the limit here. 3-1 victory. We outshot the Blues 31-28. Dave Reed was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Mats Naslund was the second. Wait, is it Mats or Marcus? It's Marcus Naslund, sorry. Was the second star with an assist, and Rob Blake was the third star with a goal. So nobody scored in the first. Yet again, the Blues had a 1-0 lead into going into the third period, and then we scored 3 unanswered goals this time into the third period. Alexander McGillney scored from Dave Reed and Mike Ridley. Then Rob Blake from Robert Reichel and Gary Volk. And finally, Randy Wood scored short-handed in an empty net from Dave Reed and Joe Rickey. 3-1. Wow, that was a 6-on-4 here, and we managed to score an empty netter. That's pretty good. Todd Gill returns to practice. All right, well, that's pretty much that, right? Game 7 of the conference finals. Winner goes to the Stanley Cup final. The loser loses. Brian Hayward and Artur Serbe are the 2 goaltenders again. Go Kings! Come on, let's go to the Stanley Cup final. I'm not gonna look. I'm scared. Oh, please, please, please. Oh, in extremis fashion again, we won. What a clutch game. We won 7-6 in overtime to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. We came back from 1-3 in our series against the Blues to reach the Stanley Cup Finals with 3 straight wins to win this series 4-3. We were outshot 39-26 in that game. Luke Robitaille was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and an assist. Sergio Mamesso was the second star with 2 assists, and Alexander McGillney was the third star with 2 assists. Sellout crowd. Luke Robitaille opened up the scoring in the first from Robert Reichel and Ray Shepherd. Then the Blues scored twice, and then Luke Robitaille scored again from Jeff Smith and Rob Blake. It was tied at 2 after 1. There was a fight between Rob Blake and Darian Hatcher as well. The Blues scored in the second period. Then Dave Reed scored his 5th from Alexander McGillney and Andrew Castles. We were tied at 3. Then the Blues scored twice. They were up 5-3 going into the third period. But as it's been for the last 3 games, the Blues were unable to hold on to a lead heading up into the third period. Andrew Castle scored from Alexander McGillney and Dave Reed, then Robert Reichel from Luke Robitaille and Ray Shepherd, Mike Ridley from Gary Galley and Gary Volk. Pavel Bure would tie the game and send us all to overtime. And your hero, ladies and gentlemen, that sent us to the Stanley Cup Finals is Randy Wood from Gary Volk and Mike Ridley. 3 minutes and 41 seconds into the overtime. The Inglewood Arena exploded with the chants and the cries of victory. The 7-6 win in overtime. We are going to the Stanley Cup Finals. Let's going to be out against the Flyers. Not going to be easy. We did beat them twice in the regular season, but they had a good record. They have a good team. Alright, so we were 2-0 against the Flyers this season. Oh, they have some injuries, so that might help us. So Mark Howe is hurt, not going to play. Eric Weinrich is hurt, we're not going to see him. Kevin Miller is hurt, we're not going to see him. And Rick Tocchet is hurt, we're not going to see him either. Right, so in net, it's Ron Extall and Darren Pupa. On D, they have Steve Duchesne, Kurt Giles, Terry Cartner, Zinovich, Shel Samuelson, Doug Uda. Up front, they have Bozek, Courtnall, Craven, Mark Lamb, Brian Prop, Tambievs, Pellier Klun, Mark Freer, Joey Junot, Mike Ritchie, Alexei Zamnov, Wood, Poulain, Sharon Nomaz, and Jody Hall. Well, folks, that's it. If I win the Stanley Cup, I win the challenge. Game 1 is going to be in Philadelphia. They had a better record, not lineup, better record than us. Artur Serbe is going to be in net for us. We're going to be facing Darren Pupa. Go Kings! And we start with a 5-1 victory on the road here against the Flyers. We outshot the Flyers 32-31. Randy Wood was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Mike Ridley was the second star with 2 goals. And Gary Valk was the third star with an assist. Mike Ridley opened up the scoring in the first. That was his 5th of the playoffs from Jeff Smith and Randy Wood. Then the Flyers tied the game. And then Mike Ridley again, unassisted. We were up 2-1 after 1. Then in the second period, Robert Reichel scored from Randy Wood and Ray Shepherd, then Andrew Castles on the power play from Ray Shepherd. 4-1 Kings after 2. Then in the third period, Randy Wood scored from Gary Valk and Rob Brown. 5-1 the final score. Really good first game here for the Stanley Cup Final. Joe Rickey is hurt again with a strained oblique. He's going to be out for 3 weeks. And Scott Arneal converts to center. Alright, so Joe Rickey goes on the injured list. My stomach is growling. I have food incoming. Alright, I guess we're going to get Gerlander back up. Don't really care about the scouting, to be honest with you. Top setting jerseys in May for the Kings. Luc Robitaille, Artur Serbe, Ray Shepherd, Gary Galley, and François Gravel. In the NHL, Luc Robitaille is 6th, Artur Serbe is 12th, and Ray Shepherd is 18th. Alright. We're in Philly for game number 2 of the series. We did lose Joe Rickey in the last game. Let's see what we can do. Artur Serbe in net for us. John Blue is going to be in net for the Flyers. He wasn't even on the roster. Did one of their goaltenders get hurt? Alright, well, go Kings. We won 6-3. We're up 2-0 in the Stanley Cup Finals. We outshot the Flyers 38-30. Ray Shepherd was the first star of the game. He had a hat trick. Gary Galley was the second star with a goal and 2 assists. And Robert Cron was the third star with 2 assists. Flyers opened up the scoring in the first. They were up 1-0. Then in the second period, Andrew Castle scored from Robert Cron and Gary Galley. Then Ray Shepherd scored on the power play from Robert Reichel and Rob Blake. It was 2-1 Kings at that point. Then the Flyers scored twice. 3-2 Philadelphia after 2. Then in the third period, Dave Reed scored from Jeff Smith and Andrew Castles to tie the game. And then we scored 3 more goals. Gary Galley scored his 5th from Luc Robitaille and Mike Ridley. Ray Shepherd from Robert Cron and Scott Arneal. And then finally Ray Shepherd again in an empty net from Robert Reichel and Gary Galley. 6-3 victory. We had a fight between Brian Propp and Rob Blake. 6-3 victory. Shepard had a great game. He had a hat trick, as we saw. Now I have to vote. God, there's not a whole lot of candidates, huh? Alright, we have a day off. Then we're going to be hosting the Flyers for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Alright, Flyers are in town. We can take a 3-0 lead in the series here with a win, which would be pretty good. John Blue in net for the Flyers still. Artis Serbe in net for us. Go Kings! Oh, we lost 4-1. We're still up 2-1 though in the series. We were outshot 43-25. Mike Ricci was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals. Alexei Zamnov was the second star with 2 assists. And Shel Samuelson was the third star with an assist. Sellout crowd in Inglewood for that one. Flyers scored twice in the first. They were up 2-0. Then in the second period, Luke Robitaille cut the lead in half from Ray Shepard and Robert Reichel. 2-1 Philadelphia after 2, but they added 2 more goals into the third period. Not a great game. We're going to need to bounce back, and Gerald the Duck is hurt. He's day-to-day. I guess Randy Ladouceur can play. Alright, Game 4. We're up 2-1 in the Stanley Cup Finals. Let's win this one. John Blue and Artis Serbe are facing each other again. Go Kings! 3-2 win. We're 1 win away from winning this challenge. A 3-2 victory. We were outshot 38-30 in that one. Andrew Castles was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Joey Junot was the second star with an assist. And Artis Serbe was the third star with 36 saves. Set out crowd yet again. Gary Galley scored on the power play to open up the scoring in the first from Ray Shepard and Andrew Castles. Then Ray Shepard from Gary Galley and Jeff Smith. 2-0 lead after 1. Then the Flyers tied the game in the second period with 2 goals. It was tied at 2. Then Andrew Castles. Oh, with 1 second left to go in the third period, he scored the game winner from Alexander McGillney and Rob Brown. Wow. Oh, that must suck for Flyers fans. Now their team has their back up to the wall. Of course, we lost Rob Blake in this game because God forbid that, the game doesn't give me a rash of injuries at one position just for once in the playoffs, Oh, Rob Blake is done. He's out 1 to 2 months. I've been extended. I'm hoping that I don't have to work that extra year. Alright, we're in Philadelphia. We can end this. We have a 3-1 lead in the Stanley Cup Finals. We have a lot of injured defensemen, though, so yeah, that might be tough. Alright, so we are going to be in Philadelphia, and it's still going to be Artis Serbe and John Blue facing each other. Go Kings, let's win the cup, shall we? That sounds great. And we won the Stanley Cup, a 3-2 victory in Philadelphia to win it all. We were outshot 28-27 in this game. Robert Reichel was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Chernomaz was the second star with 2 assists, and Alexander McGillney was the third star with a goal and an assist. Nobody scored in the first, and Andrew Castle scored his 10th in the second period from Alexander McGillney and Randy Wood. We were up 1-0 after 2. Rich Chernomaz and Rob Brown got into a fight in the second period. Oh god, we did it again. So Philadelphia tied the game, then Robert Reichel gave us the lead again from Rob Brown and Dave Reed, then the Flyers tied the game, and then with 3 seconds left to go in the third period, Alexander McGillney scored from Dave Reed and Robert Reichel, and that's how we won the Stanley Cup, folks. Awesome. Challenge beated, folks. The Kings are the Stanley Cup champions. Alright, so I don't know if I can continue to play or not. I'm going to go ahead and save the current game. So we won the cup. It hasn't been easy. To be honest with you, I did enjoy that ride. That added challenge of the, ARG thing for the names really made it a little bit more interesting for me. To be honest, I thought that I was going to win the cup the first year. The team was so good, but then I lost Glenn Ely in the playoffs, and then we unraveled from there. I thought I was heading for the Stanley Cup right there. I think it's kind of sad that in order to win the cup, I had to trade Gretzky. I would have loved to do it with Gretzky on the team. I just needed help on D. I mean, look at the injuries there. Granted, the two guys that I got on D to help are hurt and didn't finish the playoffs, but I mean, that gave me depth and everything that I really didn't have. I had Galley, and that was pretty much it. I had a bunch of 2-star players after that, so getting Todd Gill and Rob Blake helped me solidify the team. So, yeah, it was a pretty interesting challenge. It was pretty fun overall. There's still a few things that bug me. The way that the game handled goaltenders is still not right, the way that I see it. I mean, why was I facing John Blue in the Stanley Cup final, right? So let's take a look at the Flyers. Why was I facing John Blue instead of Ron Extall, right? It makes 0 sense. I don't care what the devs say. They cannot come to me and tell me that, yeah, well, that's because this and that. There's no reason Ron Extall is not in net for the Stanley Cup final after, I guess, Darren Pupa got hurt. Yeah, that's what happened. Darren Pupa got hurt in the first game. Now, you can argue that Darren Pupa was on a hot streak if you want to argue that he was going to be the starting goaltender for that reason. Fine. But to start a alpha star goaltender in the Stanley Cup final when you have a 3.5-star goaltender in Ron Extall that's sitting the bench, that needs to be fixed. It's been like that for at least 3 versions of the game, probably more, so that bothers me quite a bit. The other thing that really bothers me with the game is those trades that the computer makes, where after they make the trade, they waive the players they traded for absolutely no reason. We saw that with Edmonton trading for 2 goaltenders, and they just waived them both because they had Grant Fuhr and Andy Moog. So why trade for 2 goaltenders if you not Andy Moog, they had Bill Ranford and Grant Fuhr, sorry. So why does that happen? That makes absolutely no sense. So yeah, the game is good, don't get me wrong. I'm kind of griping about the things that bother me. I think it's just proof that, there's still room for the game to grow and get better. It is not a perfect game, but overall it is a very fun game, a very good simulation game, and I won the cup, goddammit, so woo! So for future plans with Franchise Hockey Manager 6, I have a viewer. Now, I didn't write it down anywhere, so I apologize. I forgot your name. But I have somebody that wanted to see me play as the Sens in current time. It's been a very, 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 very long time since I played current day in Franchise Hockey Manager, so I might be a little bit rusty, but I'll do it. So I'm gonna be moving on to a Ottawa Senators current day kind of save. See if I can bring them to glory closer than Pierre Dorion is ever going to do it, probably. But anyway, so that's the future plans. Challenge accepted, challenge beaten. We're moving on. So obviously we're gonna go ahead and stop here. What a better way to stop than when you're right at the top, right? So that's where we're stopping. Thank you for tuning in with me the entire time. It was a blast. I know that I have a few different people following me on stream that are here sometimes they're not, and then there's people that watch that on YouTube instead. I appreciate everybody equally. And yeah, so until I roll this game again, we're gonna start something new, and I'll see you guys and gals next time. Thank you.